Okay, it's not ready yet, but it's supposed to be ready November 1st, the uh, laundromat in Castlegar. So I got laundry already saved up, but can't afford to go anywhere else or anywhere else I know about that I've tried that will do it for me at this time. And I offered, the guy knows me, but he knows me as a recipient of services. And therefore, I I offered him my help, right, when he came to the door. There's a lot of things I could do to help him prepare and set up, just like I'm confused with how he ended up being the one that is doing the laundromat because, like he's associated with a lot of service providers there already, and now it's a business for him. He's going to make a profit. Like how, was there some sort of favoritism? I don't know. Anyways, not maybe he thought I was going to charge him and he didn't ask, but I was not going to charge him to help just because just feels good to help, right? There's a lot of things, cleaning, fixing, testing things inside. And let's say he had asked and say, "Oh no, I'm just going to do it for free because I don't know, maybe he'll give me my first or second load for free." And hopefully he'll say yes and he won't say no later because he said, "Oh, if I set a precedent." Then I would still let it go for the help I did because it's nice to help and it's just additional data proving, what I've been claiming already. If people want to criticize me for what I've been claiming, so it's taken more time because maybe he thinks he's a service provider at a place I go, and I'm below him on the scale of humanity, and maybe he's even inventing potential conflicts of interest, which, if he tested with his bosses, there wouldn't be because they'd want him to get free help. But there also isn't a conflict of interest. It's not like I'm registered as somebody, that has a dangerous disability or that has a court order to stay away from drugs or that has a criminal record or he knows I'm a safe person, but he needs to take on all the work himself and not accept it. So, which of course is bad role modeling from a worker. When I was at that place where he works and I met him the first time, there's a guy talking about a guy on TV at this show of there's like wreckers who kind of take things out of a junkyard to a snow, and they were doing a crappy job and swearing, and it's always bleeped out, and that's a Canadian show now. And he said, "Oh, I got to write this guy. He's awesome." He kept saying the guy's wife or girlfriend and him were awesome by the amount of drugs they were taking and how that made them super cool people. Now, of course, when I worked at a treatment center or a place where you provide services to drug addicts, this is like, don't say stuff like this because, for example, you'll trigger others that may actually choose recovery, right? We don't care. You can choose whatever you want. We'll give you sandwiches or whatever. So, you can tell how much as a culture BC has devolved based on, again, my predictions from writing documents such as, Dear British Columbia Residents, for example. So it's pretty sad. So, oh, by the way, did you know this was Lessons in Democracy? Now, can we believe a democracy is a democracy if we have to zip it when it comes to the quality or lack thereof of services we receive from public servants? Let's look at the BC Ministry of Poverty Creation. After going back, was it yesterday or the day before? Yeah, 2 days ago, the 24th. By the way, on the 24th, I said it was the 26th, and I made a mistake. And when I post that video, I'll say, oops, sorry, it was the 24th that day, not 26th. To the ministry office to repeat things that weren't being done. They were just talking about it amongst themselves, but never working on it or opening the service requests. And I keep getting expenses going there. And they don't get that my interactions with them being so inefficient creates poverty in my life while they collect profit. And they actually, at the same time, help devolve their entire proto-society and the cultures of their work and the biological entities that they're, having kids being. And it's kind of weird. So one way, guys, that you can test to see if your country is a democratic country is do petitions that say that you will start participating in democracy again Otherwise, you're going to be very pissed off for any election where there's no suitable candidates. You're going to make it very clear with your petitions, and you're not going to show up. And those of you that show up are because you happen to be in that area, but it'll be specifically not to get more expenses, but to say no suitable candidates. And then, of course, insist that the election committee reports the results and put your names. You don't have to be anonymous if you want to say, you know, like, because otherwise you're hypocrites. You're like the public service that don't write their names. So this supervisor finally, I don't know, I don't think she put her name or he put her name. I'm assuming it's a she for some reason. We might find out later because I might say, dear anonymous supervisor, I don't know if this is a game. I'm pretty sure usually supervisors identify at least their first name. But even last name, like how many enemies do you have and how do you get these enemies that you have to not say your name? And that's the questions you need to ask yourself. Like, what kind of person am I, or what kind of ministry do I work for, selling my humanity away for a paycheck, that there's that high a risk? Like, we need to change systemically, right? So one way you can know if you're in a democracy is ask the results of people not voting and people saying no suitable candidates. Wrong, nobody's having the right conversations. Help us learn to care about our kids because we don't have the toolkits to problem solve for their generation. And we know not to trust you, so at least help work with us by kind of changing institutions of education, of medical, everything. The media has to educate us more, not, you know, sway our opinions and keep us dumb as they are doing it. So for me, I would say to this supervisor, and I said, please don't get me to repeat kind of thing. Please, you know, please don't ask a general question, how may I help you, or what's this about, when I've already been clear many, many times while acquiring additional expenses. That means look at your freaking notes. Now, of course, the notes are horrible. And sometimes they're not bad listeners. Because if you ask them to paraphrase, for example, which, oh my God, that's offensive. You're testing me on my skill sets as a public servant. But if they paraphrase well, still their notes won't reflect that, because their notes would be so out of the norm if they actually say, this is the problems, this is what we have to solve at this time, please follow up in the right way. And because when I'm asking them, why was this service request closed because they couldn't reach me? How did they reach me? How did they try or not even try? Like, how can you not tell by the worker's notes? So ask for notes. Ask for notes from anybody that's any kind of public servant right away. And there should be a system like this. You go somewhere for services, for Service Canada or BC or other provinces or municipal, is, you know, they want your phone number all the time. They want your email. Well, the email must send back the notes of the worker of what you said and what they're working on, and more or less their expectation, or even a promise. We have a policy that BC Ministry of Poverty Creation are breaking big time. This should take this amount of time maximum because we understand your hardships or your human rights or your basic needs. And the email, when you get these emails, if you ever did, because you'd have to advocate for your lives if you'd start getting these emails, which I'd be surprised if you would do, is you would see, oh my God, that's not what I said at all. This is like, was this person listening? I think they were, because some of them might have paraphrased well, but their notes don't reflect it. So it's a broken system, and then I'm going to get upset again, and then things get worse in my life and other people's lives at our cost while they lose their humanity, but they think it's okay because they're getting a paycheck, a steady paycheck coming out of it. Now, if you think you're human and you think I shouldn't call you Homo sapien, you're freaking nuts, right? So people, if you believe that you live in a democratic society, insist on notes. You go somewhere for something, for services, you show up in person, you tell your story, you bring documents. Insist, I want to get notes. If it's not set up already as a system, then give me your supervisor's name and an email, and I will say, please do a follow-up with the notes. I want to get the notes that the worker understood my simple, repeated requests that I keep asking. This is so simple to solve. So I know that it's in your system. There must be some sort of transparency and accountability like this. Any politicians that doesn't press for this, don't go vote for them. No suitable candidates.